The pinky and the brain.
Hello and welcome to the University of Limerick radio station. I'm Fiona Nash and I'm hearing you well my co-presenter Alison O'Connor on this Tuesday morning, the 28th of October.
Hello Limerick.
Today's show we're going to be talking to you about the adolescent brain. Alison, did you know the brain is the most complex organ in the human body? It is a container for our thoughts and memories. It tells us what we are, who we are our brain. In fact, did you know, on average, the female brain develops 2 years earlier, and you can still survive with just half a brain. Your brain has the same consistency as soft tuffle. Your brain produces enough electricity to power a light bulb, and your brain weighs about 3 pounds. The brain is made of more than 100 billion nerves that communicate in trillions of connections. If we were to slice open the brain, we would see the different areas. Now we're going to take a look at these areas and their functions. First, we're going to take a look at the brain stem. This is located between the spinal cord and the rest of the brain. It is responsible for all involuntary actions such as breathing, swallowing, our blood pressure, heart rate and sleep. It also controls our feelings. So remember, the next time you feel happy, sad, hungry or even thirsty, this is your brainstem working. Next, we're going to take a look at the cerebellum. This is located at the base and the back of the brain. This controls balance and coordination. So just take a look at the following video. Do you think Bambi has balance and coordination? Now we're going to take a look at the cerebrum. This is the largest part of the human brain. It is the outer layer of the brain and is associated with higher brain functions such as thought and actions. It is divided into 4 different sections called lobes, which are named the frontal lobe, partial lobe, temporal lobe and the occipital lobe. Finally, we're going to take a look at the prefrontal cortex. This is located at the very front of the brain, just behind the forehead. It occupies about 30% of the brain. Medical studies have shown that the prefrontal cortex is the last section of the brain to mature. In fact, its development is not until around the age of 25. This late growth is likely the reason why adolescents engage in high-risk behaviours, even though often they understand the potential behaviours. Alison, what do you think?
Gosh Fiona, it is a complex organ. There are many factors that affect the human brain. Let's look at some of these in more detail. The use of drugs, alcohol and marijuana lead to poorer memory, focus and spatial awareness. Teenagers have a higher tolerance for hangovers. It is important to note that the regular use of marijuana changes the structure of the brain, which affects memory, problem solving and decision making. Teenagers tend to stay up longer and wake later, so they deal with sleep deprivation due to early school schedules, which leads to irritability, depression and impulse behaviour. Fiona, did you know that some schools have even tried a later school day?
My God.
Moving on to puberty. It is a well-established fact that girls develop first, then boys. Teachers should take this into account in the classroom, as well as teenagers' moodiness and attitude. Children with ADHD have a smaller prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for self-regulation of behaviour, coordination and control of motor behaviour. Teenagers should therefore note that students with ADHD may have difficulty in independently working, completing seat work and organising work. Emotions can run high in teens, which are brought on by stress, anxiety and trauma. This can directly affect classroom learning. If learners feel unsafe and anxious, they are not likely to focus their attention on academics. It is important to note that mental health has effects on the brain. The school environment can help by providing individual counselling services, implementing safety crisis planning, having youth development activities, case care management and group work. We have Richard Murphy and Dean O'Reilly here with us in the studio who are going to talk to us about neuroscience and teenagers in the classroom. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you, Ali, and thanks Fiona for having me on today to talk to you about the adolescent brain. Today I will discuss neuroscience, which is the study of the nervous system and most notably the brain. Neuroscience has made tremendous progress in studying the adolescent brain, opening opportunities and raising challenges. According to Sarah Jane Blakemore, Professor of Cognitive Neuroscience at University of College London, only in the past 10 years has there been advances in brain imaging technology such as magnetic resonance imaging, which stands for MRI, and functional MRI. Neuroscientists have started to look inside the living human brain of all ages and to track changes in brain structure and brain function. In relation to adolescence, there are 4 specific structural changes. 1. There is a decrease in grey matter in the prefrontal region, and secondly, there is an increase in white matter in the prefrontal cortex. Thirdly, there is important changes in activity involving the neurotransmitter dopamine, which occur during early adolescence, especially around puberty. And fourthly, there is an increase in the strength of connections between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. Also, Ali and Fiona, there are many myths of neuroscience, and some of them I will include with you today. The left brain, right brain myth claims that particular types of brain activity, logical, artistic and linguistic, are found in either the left or right hemisphere of the brain, and that people are predominantly left or right brain thinkers. Neuroscience shows that most tasks involve both sides of the brain working together. Another myth is that we only use 10% of our brains. The fact is, neuroimaging technology has destroyed this falsehood. fMRI shows several brain areas are at work for any given activity depending on what function is needed. Also, learning styles is another myth in which people believe they have particular learning styles such as vision, auditory and kinesthetic. The fact is there is little evidence to demonstrate this. Finally, listening to classical music makes you smarter. This is a myth, but learning to play a musical instrument does have a beneficial cognitive effect. I will now pass you over to my colleague Dina Roy, who can provide more information in regards to the adolescent brain.
Thanks, Richard. Hi, Fiona and Ali. Some considerations a teacher should make in the classroom are to provide a safe environment. Students should feel safe and comfortable in the classroom. The room should be warm and not hazardous in any way. The teacher should engage students in every way possible. Another consideration is to let students know what is expected of them in the classroom. The teacher should use a mixed methodology approach. This ensures that students don't get bored and keeps them engaged in every lesson. Brain breaks are short, fun games that the teacher should introduce to their class. Students will return to the lesson with a fresh approach. They'll be more engaged and even more productive. Some brain break exercises are as follows: deep breathing, progressive relaxation, stretching or movement, tongue war, 1 minute dance party, rock, paper, scissors, or even let the students come up with their own games. So, some tips for today. The teacher should develop relationships in the classroom. The teacher should use effective communication techniques and ensure students know what is expected of them. Make sure students are familiar with the surroundings, such as the seating arrangements. Teachers should plan precisely and coherently for every lesson. The teacher should use effective classroom management techniques to control the class. And student focus. The student should be the centre of attention for the teachers. And finally, teachers should not be judgmental in any way possible, no matter what issue arises.
Thanks for that, Dean. I'd just like to thank Richard and Dean for coming on and sharing their expert opinions with us today. And thanks again to my co-presenter, Alison. Finally, thanks again to our listeners for tuning in. Until next time.
The Pinky and the Brain, 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 brain.